Dave Ferguson from Liverpool Beat. We're here at Lathom Hall, historic Lathom Hall, with Dave Jamo, who was here way back in the 60s. You were 1960, were you?
I was a regular here.
Regular?
George had his 18th and I had my 20th here. It wasn't a party, it was just a get-together.
So George Harrison had his 18th birthday party.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We both had the same day, 25th of February, but there is some controversy over George being the 24th, but he always celebrated the 25th.
Now you run an organisation called Merseyrats, which is a charity for children?
Yeah, it's a charity fundraiser for children, and it's mainly sick, destitute, and we do things for abused children as well, you know. Like sending them on holiday and getting 2 destitute families and getting all the presents for 2 families, the kids, and we've never failed with anything that they've wanted. And then we give them the money, a Tesco card for the families to buy the Sunday, the Christmas dinner and things like that, you know. Yeah. Plus we help a lot of other funds out as well. You know?
But you're based here at the Lathom.
At the Lathom,
and you have a show every week.
Every Thursday. Every Thursday.
Every Thursday. Yeah. And what huge amounts of money is it to get in?
£1.
A pound.
£1. And we have a £1 raffle. And I've got to say, as the signs, it's not up, they're the most generous crowd, audience anyone could wish to meet.
And who do you have playing here?
Well, we have...
Besides me?
We have Sam Hardy and his... well, they wear the dominoes. They're now Orange Nail, you know.
So you got a lot of original...
Oh, yeah, a lot of original musicians. And we have a regular bands like the Biz and Still Standing and How's That. And
the Undertakers?
No, well, the Undertakers only they come now and again.
Now and again, yeah.
And we have Francesca, and we have a guest band every week, and the bands like the Silhouettes. And
you've got Lee Curtis plays here.
Oh, Lee Curtis, yeah.
The All Stars.
The All Stars. Yeah.
Was Farron still playing? Yeah.
When he's well.
When he's well.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of the original stars appearing. So you never know you look. You know,
No,
you come
no.
down on a Thursday.
You know,
see
it's
some of the original players.
Well, the part of there's a great story about the Beatles being here for an audition. Now, if you talk to Cliff Roberts of the Rockers, Cliff said how that came about was that him and his brother was in the Grosvenor Ballroom in early April, and they were watching Casanovas, and in the interval he asked Brian Cass could him and his brother Steve get up and play, and they were getting up and singing, so much so that the bass player and the drummer got on with them. And Brian Cass at the end of the night said, that was good that. He said, have you got a band? He said, yeah, I've got the Rockers. So he said, well, I've got the Casanova Club, I'll book you. So he booked them. And on the night of the booking, they were setting up, and these guys walked in with their instruments, and Cliff said, who are you? He didn't know them. And it happened to be George Harrison said, we're the Silver Beatles. He said, I don't think you're on here tonight. So he said, no, I think you... So Brian Cassidy said, no, I'm sorry, you're not. So Cliff says that they looked that disappointed. I said to them, I've got a double booking tonight. I'm on here, and then I'm on the Lathom. He said, if you go along to the Lathom and tell Brian Kelly that I'm sick, and I've sent you along sooner than him have a band down. So they asked, where's the Lathom? Because they didn't know where it was. Anyway, they came along here, and Brian gave them that audition.
So this book...
this book, I decided what happened was, what happened here...
Where's that there?
That's on the house gable up there.
So that's just a few doors down from here, is it?
No, up at the roundabout.
About the roundabout, yeah.
And what happened was that they came here and
Brian Kelly was
put
the
them on
promoter.
Brian
for
Kelly,
the
BK Promotions, yeah.
Okay.
And the thing about it was, they then on the 20th went to the Wyvern Club, which I was there with Rory, to do the
That's Rory Storm.
Billy Fury auditions, and of course they didn't get it. But what they did, they got a tour of Scotland with Johnny Gentle.
So that's good, isn't it? Lathom over 17s night. Do you think you need to put that on now when you do them?
And what happened was, in their excitement, they just went, and they didn't inform Brian Kelly that the booking he gave them for the Saturday, they weren't going to turn up. So Brian completely fell out with the Beatles.
All right.
And then when they came back from Hamburg, and John asked Bob Wooler to get them a booking, and he rang Brian because he said he owes me a favour, and Brian reluctantly said, I don't want anything to do with them, but he said, listen, put these on and you won't regret it, and Brian did.
You probably can't see this, but it's a little ad, and it says, can we get it here?
Yeah, I've got it, just don't move.
I'm
Don't
trying to
one with
read
the
it.
beats?
It says this week, the Silver Beats. So before they were the Silver Beatles, they call themselves.
No, that was a mistake.
That was just a mistake.
Yeah.
So they were the Silver Beatles at that time.
Was that the first performance or a subsequent one?
And that was the Dominoes. We've just had a word with Ken Shellick, who was in the
And who else
Dominoes.
is on it?
And the Deltones.
Yeah.
So that was Mesh
Yeah, well,
Stevenson. and Ian was
that
Ian
was
in
the
that?
booking that they didn't turn up for.
Oh, right.
And
Not
that's,
the
that's what's
first one.
called the animosity between Brian and the Beatles.
Right.
When they were on the stage, I was in Germany in November, and I walked into the Litherland Town Hall to see Ian. And as I
That's
walked
a
in,
better picture of it. You can actually see that now. So the Silver Beats, the Dominoes, and the Deltones. And the admission was 4 shillings.
yeah. And as I walked into the dressing rooms, Pete and George were walking out, and I said, what are you doing here? And they said, Bob Buller got us a booking. Well, I knew what to expect on that night. And when the curtains opened and Paul went in, and they're there in their leathers, like James Dean Rebels, you know, compared to all the bands who were wearing suits and ties and them funny little dicky bows. And the girls just screamed, all went to the stage, and they never moved all night. But Pete Best told me that when they got home after that gig, his mum couldn't understand why only 3 members were in the Casbah Coffee Club, because all the fans mingled with the fans at the Litherland, and that's where Beatlemania started.
And is this is one of the promoters, I presume, is how much they paid them?
That's Dave Forshaw.
Dave Forshaw.
Yeah.
Right. So Merseybeats got £5, 10 shillings. And the Beatles got £25, which was actually a fortune in those days, wasn't it? Because I remember when we played the Camden, we got £5 for the old band and the roadie and everybody.
Well, the thing about it was that they left that night with 39 bookings.
Wow.
Because Brian Kelly booked them for 36 and Dave Forshaw booked them for 3.
This is Dave Forshaw. He's still around, Dave. He's a
Oh,
really
yeah,
nice
yeah.
fellow, Dave, isn't he?
Yeah,
I met
lovely
him a
guy.
few weeks ago.
Lovely fella.
And there's Alan Williams, purportedly the first manager, although there's some question marks over that, isn't it? And Bob Wooler, who was
he
the DJ at the Cavern. Who's Wally Hill?
He used to have the Ollie Oak and Blair Hall.
Oh, right. And, of course, no introduction
You see,
needed here. Sam
these
Leach.
here, all these men here, and a few more, were the foundations for Merseybeat. And the thing about it was, if these guys had not have done what they did, like take a risk and put dancers on in halls like this, and the Litherland and Blair Hall and the Ollie Oak and Notty Ash Hall, you know, and Hambleton Hall, Epstein wouldn't have had anything to have done because he wouldn't have known about them. Because this was the foundations.
And this is John Kennedy. John Kennedy runs the nights. He's at the door.
He's on the door,
He's
yeah.
on the door. And he was with
He was with the
the
Dominoes.
Dominoes, yeah. And here's
But
King
he was with
Size
the
Taylor.
Zodiacs first.
And Bobby Thompson's played here. He's a great singer. Another picture of King Size, who's got Bob Wooler. He's picked up Bob Wooler there. And the foremost.
But Dave Forshaw was telling me a funny story the other week. He said, Brian Epstein rang him up and said, will you put the big 3 on St. John's Hall? So Dave said, yeah, okay. And he said, how much? And he said, £18. And Dave said, £18? He said, yeah. He said, there's only 3 of them. He said, well, so what? He said, well, I'll tell you what. He says, put them on. If you don't like what they do, I'll pay them. Epstein said. So a couple of days later, he rang Dave and he said, what did you think? He said, oh, they were fantastic. He said, they were fantastic. He said, did you pay them? He said, yeah. He says, they are. It doesn't matter how many's in a band.
So we've used the information today for the people out there, because people are going to watch this all over the world. And don't forget, every Thursday at Lathom Hall, you can see Dave and his gang of professional musicians.
Well, if these oldies want to come and get their limbs nice and subtle and working again, well, this is the place to come.
So, well, the best wishes for the charity, and thanks very much for your time.
Okay, thanks, Dave.